Oh, there we go. Okay. Jacob, could you let me know if you could hear me?
Yeah, we could.
There's a chat.
Remember to unmute when, yes.
Yes. Okay. Great. 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 Oh, the chat shows up. Okay.
What's your name?
All right. So we're gonna get started now. This is just like a general info session for you with Global Brigades, what we're about, our brigades that we have lined up for this year. So we're just gonna go through those. I'm Ellie. We can go to the next slide. So I'm Ellie. I'm the campus chairperson. I kind of manage all of the chapters. But we have our chapter presidents up here. So Victor is our medical guy. Hayden's our dental, Henry and Tomas our business.
Hello.
Yeah. Go on to the next one.
Oops.
Oh. And so I'm not gonna go through everyone else, but there's 10 people, but this is the rest of us. Most of them are here tonight, students. Yeah, all of these people work tirelessly and help us put on these brigades, and you can go to any of them if you have questions, as well as myself with chapter presidents. So yeah, I'll give it to Miriam, who is our education chair. She'll tell you a little bit about what Global Brigade is.
Hi everyone, I'm Miriam. So Global Brigades is a pretty big nonprofit organization, an international nonprofit organization that kind of empowers communities to reach their health and economic goals. And it's kind of led majority of the way through like university students and then local teams in those actual countries, along with like many people. There's a very big organization. But the main countries that Global Brigades works with are Guatemala, Honduras, Belize, Panama, Ghana, and Greece. And so some of you may know, but last year, our medical brigade went to Honduras and our business brigade went to Panama. And this year, our dental and our medical brigade are planning to go to Guatemala, and our business brigade is planning to go to Belize. And so one of the big issues that Global Brigades tries to address, a big one of them are access to healthcare. So approximately half of the world's population lacks access to healthcare services. And this is really important in order for just life to kind of go on in general. As if you don't have proper health, you can't have a good economy, you can't build infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like a cycle. But yeah. And so yeah, our holistic model, that's what I was kind of talking about. So let's say you were to take water and sanitation infrastructure. If you don't really have that, that leads to a lot of health problems within communities, which then leads to issues in economic development. And so where our club kind of fits into this is, for example, our medical brigades works on sustainable health system. Our medical and our dental brigades work on sustainable health systems, and then our business brigade, for example, works on economic development. But there's Global Brigades isn't just limited to medical, dental, and business brigades. There's also engineering brigades that are done, water brigades, law brigades. There's a whole bunch of them to kind of work towards addressing all of these issues that fit within the holistic model. Yeah. Yeah, so Global Brigades is mostly founded and driven by university students. There's a lot of universities throughout North America, especially, that have clubs such as the one at University of Victoria, and many of these universities go on brigades. So for example, our medical brigade, the one that went to Honduras, we saw people who were from universities in the US, who were from universities in Nova Scotia. And so yeah, throughout Canada and throughout all of the US, and you can see all those red dots are where our Global Brigades kind of has like locations. But yeah, Global Brigades employed about 106 full-time and 400 plus part-time team members in each country. And so it's not just volunteers that go to these countries to help out in these different sectors. There's also people who live there and work there for global brigades who are on the ground all the time, helping these people as well build their health and economic goals. Yeah, Victor is gonna talk a little bit more about our medical brigade now.
Sweet. So for this brigade, we decided to do Guatemala. Guatemala is rich for its indigenous culture and features a rich ecosystems of volcanoes and rainforests. Next slide. And just to give you guys a sense of what to expect on a medical brigade, there's a little video here to show you. So it's 4 minutes long. And this goes over Ghana.
Being able to work one-on-one with the doctors, they read to you the symptoms of the patient and what the patient's feeling, why and what medications they're receiving. And so that's what really motivated me to want to come out here and to help others. And just one small thing that we could do could make a difference to them.
Global Medical Brigades is an international movement of university students working alongside local communities and staff to implement sustainable health systems. We work in under-resourced communities that would otherwise have limited to no access to healthcare.
Aproximadamente 9 de cada 10 hondureños no están cubiertos por un seguro social ni pueden pagar un médico privado o exámenes. También sucede de que las clínicas, por ejemplo, en la comunidad que nosotros estamos, actualmente el hospital más cercano está aproximadamente a 2 horas y media. Muy contenta porque es muy bueno que hayan venido con tantas especialidades en el día de hoy, como lo que es medicina general, odontología. Muy importante, hoy trajeron fisioterapia, cardiología y pruebas rápidas, pues, que a veces las personas necesitan, pero por no contar a veces por transporte, en lo que son personas mayores, no pueden acudir a un centro de salud más cercano.
The lack of communication and how that's been a big issue, allowing people to have healthcare. And I think global brigades, with the amount of translators they do have, are making a big impact by allowing people to have their own autonomy and go to their own appointments and see doctors.
کنیک به خاطری که مشکل داشتم اینجا آمدم به خاطر که ما ماجری مشکلات خیلی زیاد را دیدیم اینا و یعنی رایگان ما را تدریس میکنن و مشکلات ما را حل میکنن.
Being here for a week is a true immersion that by the end of the week, you know, you're speaking in Spanish 10 times better than you were at the start. And I know we have so many people on our brigade who came in with absolutely no Spanish, you know, no skills, and they were still able to communicate incredibly effectively with, you know, members of the community, patients, and everything like that.
What started as passionate young adults wanting to make a difference turned into an empowering force of change makers. We are the largest student-led movement for global health. We're collaborative, we're sustainable, and we're empowering.
This brigade, we're having different stations, and I'm about to introduce you to each of them. So first, we're having intake, which is in charge of some people from the community, and we take the patient's ID number. After that, they walk with the runner to triage, in which we take their vitals, BP. After that, they get to the consultation. So depending on the symptoms and everything, they talk to the doctors. They will get referred to either PT, nutrition, or get a rapid test. And after that, they will go to Charlotte and then finally pharmacy to pick up their prescription by the doctor.
So when you come to Ghana, the last station that we have is the home visit. Home visit is designed in a way that our students go out to advertise the clinic that we are having.
And it was a great way to still get them the care that they deserve, but they weren't able to come into our clinic. So being able to go do their intake, have the doctors come to them, and then come back with their prescriptions at the end of the day or the next day was really something special. And I liked being able to be in the community actually making a difference.
I'm here for medical treatments, and I like how they are treating us very well. As for me, I'm sick. They have been giving me a lot of medicines for me to go and take it at home.
In addition to sustainable access to health and dental care, our work empowers under-resourced communities with clean water and public health infrastructure, unique to each country and community. We want to make an even bigger impact, and we want you to join us.
I'm challenging you, make an impact, come and work and empower communities.
So yeah, as the video described, we go into countries, specifically rural areas within countries that need access to medical care. And Guatemala is one of those countries, and so within Guatemala, there's only around 2.8 doctors for every 10,000 people. And for the dentistry, it's even less. It's one dentist per 100,000 people. So this is one of the reasons why we want to do a medical brigade and go into those countries, is to provide people that otherwise have to travel 2+ hours to the nearest hospital. They can get care right at their doorstep. And so where we'll be going, specifically, our work is focused on rural Latino and indigenous communities in Guatemala. And 44% of the rural population lacks access to basic and safety managed sanitation facilities. And then 12% are below the poverty line. So you imagine these people don't really have access to, you can go to your local pharmacy, and if you have a headache, you can go buy Tylenol. But these people, you don't have access to all that. So we go in, establish a clinic, and then they can, for example, at the pharmacy station, they can get prescriptions or even over-the-counter stuff like next slide. Ooh.
Sorry.
So yeah, so maybe wondering, as they described, what to expect. So this is a sample itinerary of what we would expect to do when we were in Guatemala. So day one is basically getting picked up at the airport and being traveling with a bus to a lodging facility, and then that can take a couple hours. Can't remember how long it was for us, but you get cozy and it's a good icebreaker for everyone on the brigade. A lot of jokes happen on that bus. And then 3 p.m. you enter the facility, you get settled in, pick your rooms. For us, there were bunk beds, so you get bunk buddies. And then from 4 to 5, get introduced. So basically, the people at the facility, the doctors, who will be brigade members, they'll present you, introduce you to how it is in Guatemala, and specifically at this site. 7 p.m. dinner, and then another presentation to get more acquainted with global brigades. And then the following days vary. So day 2 is more of a research day. And so what research day is, it's basically you go into the community and you survey and go from house to house that members of the community have been impacted by global brigades, and you ask them how they're feeling, how healthcare, whether they still have access to it, any concerns or questions. Basically, global brigades as a nonprofit organization getting feedback from the community on how to improve, on what they're doing right and what needs to get better. And so that's basically, we walk from door to door, and we have translators with us, we have other community members with us, and we have group discussions with them on how to make their lives easier. And so it's kind of broken up. So you have breakfast, it's a 7 a.m. breakfast, you take a bus to the community, and then from 9 to 11 is a bit of research, a break, more research, and then you transfer back to the lodging area. And then that's where you prepare for clinic days, and of course, dinner after. So moving on to clinic, you'll have a number of opportunities here in Victoria to learn how to do blood pressure, take vitals, but you'll also have a chance to learn on the fly there. So there's dedicated time from 3 to 7 here to prepare, so we learn there as well. With our brigade, it was quite lucky. We had nursing school with us, so trained nurses and a physician from the US were with us, so they helped us out quite a bit as well. And then you also get introduced, and there's a mock clinic, so you get to run through the process a little bit and get acquainted with all the stations. And then days 3, 4, and 5, I think 6, I think it's 4 clinic days, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, sorry. Days 3, 4, and 5 are clinic days. So this is where you actually go into the communities and actually establish that clinic. So in Honduras, we established it in a school from kindergarten to grade 6, I believe, and different classrooms with different stations. And so basically you're there from morning to the afternoon. Some days we actually stay later than 4 o'clock, but that just depends on how many people there were. And then you, once your day is done, head back to the facility, do dinner, and then the empowerment talk you have after dinner, which is basically how everyone was feeling after clinic days and feedback, as well as there's also time to pack medical supplies because those go by quickly, and you also give out hygiene packs. the people after they're done. So they get a little treat after coming in some medicine or treatment. And then day 6 is cultural day. So it varies from country to country, but in Honduras, what we did is we went into one of the bigger towns where there was like markets, and you get to explore a little bit, actually like meet the people in the larger communities. In Guatemala, it's going to be a little bit differently. So from what I understand so far, indigenous culture is a very big part of Guatemala. So they'll actually have a ceremony for us and do dancing and I believe some other cultural activities. And we might be going into a community from the looks of it. Yeah, so we'll be going to a community for that. And so it's the same similar activities where you have a bunch of hours where you go into the cultural day, then a break, and then back on cultural day. And then the culture activity and bonfire is very similar to the empowerment talk where you kind of talk about what you learned, how you improved, and yeah, what you took away from the whole experience. And when we were in Honduras, this was a very powerful because every single person talked about the most meaningful experience that they had, and everyone varied from one brigader gave actually money to one of the patients so that they could afford antibiotics, for example. Another person was on consults and they witnessed a patient that had diabetic neuropathy, which is basically diabetes that goes to the point where it damages their nervous system. And they had a gash on their back of their heel that they didn't feel because they had the damage to the nervous system, and then it swelled up and got so infected. And so it just opened that brigader's eyes to kind of like the lack of awareness for their own people's health and the lack of treatment options for these people, because the woman was aware that she had it, but she didn't know where to get or seek help for it. But yeah, so that's kind of a conclusion to the rest of the clinic and cultural days. And then day 7 is eat breakfast and skedaddle back to the airport. And then that's pretty much the week. And then, so as the video described, and as I was kind of hinting to, this is kind of the schematic of the clinic days where you'll be spending most of your time over those 3 days. And so we start off with intake. Intake is community-led, so there's no volunteers here. Basically, they get them situated, organized, and some forms as well, so get some information. Triage, you're getting blood pressure, taking vitals, pulse, breathing rate, body weight, height, all that kind of fun stuff. And so that's a good place to interact, practice talking with patients. And I should mention that every single station will have a translator, so you don't need to speak the language of the country to participate. But obviously, it's if you do speak the language, it's a more personal conversation that happens. But you still you can still have some good back and forth with the patient regardless. So that's triage, and once triage is done, the patients then go to consult. So the doctors need the forms filled out with all the patient vitals, which should fill out a triage. And then once the doctors have all the information, they'll talk to the patients based on their concerns. So in Honduras, a lot of patients had high blood pressure. That was the topic that kept coming up with these patients. And so talking about prescribing heart medication or to treat that high blood pressure. And so as a volunteer here, you'll be sitting with the doctor and you can ask questions depending on the doctor. You can have like they'll ask you what you think is going on, a little bit of back and forth there. OBGYN, so this is it should also say men are included in this, but only for if men have issues with prostate. So this one changes depending on who needs it. The station's not always available on a day-to-day basis, but for example, for OBGYN, it's female oriented because in Central America, it's not, a lot of the patients don't feel comfortable if a guy was there for a pap smear or stuff like that. So we are always cognizant of that. So this one's primarily female led, but if there's, for example, a male patient that has issues with prostate or something, then you do have the opportunity, if you're comfortable, to help assist with that. Next is dental. So I will skim over most of the dental because Caitlin has got it, but basically tooth pullings, all that fun stuff. Volunteers assist with that. You're really hands in on that one as well. My first shift as a volunteer, I was on dental actually. I had to clean it was a 6-year-old's teeth with a swab of fluorine, and then once the dentist pulled the tooth, I had to go with the swab inside the kid's mouth and be like, open your mouth, and then put the swab and close your mouth. So it's like immediately you're in the action there. So that was a good one. Vision will be new for myself and the rest of the brigaders. We do have the glasses, but basically this is if patients have issues with the eyes, they'll get their measurements there done, and then prescription glasses are given out. The yellow ones are based on additional stations. So the more volunteers we have, the more opportunities we have to do stations. So dental fillings, lab tests like blood tests, urology, nutrition. So this is talking if the patients need a dietitian, for example, a patient is overweight or underweight, they talk to a dietitian. And then Charla is a good one. This is where, so if the adults are being treated, what do you do with the kids? You play with them. So, so the kids, there's soccer games, playing catch, or trying to get your camera back after it hits you. So a bit of tag. And so there's a number of volunteers there. So it's a good kind of like break from the rest of it. And then another station after that is pharmacy. So this is where you're going in, having medication, putting into bottles based on what the doctor orders during consults. And then after that is data informatics. So for us, we did it after our clinical days because we had so many patients, but that's like filling in all the patient forms into the database of local brigades. And so I think we did it after 8 p.m. So we did from like 9 to 12 a.m. because we had so many patients that we had to treat those days. So we had no time to do it during the day. But yeah, and so as I said before, the more people that join, the more stations, and if we get over 40 members, we actually split the brigade into two different communities. Yeah, that's my long speech about that. So next slide. And so in terms of requirements, the only real requirement you need is to reach the donation goal. And so what the donation goal includes is ground transportation, housing, and meals, and also funding for healthcare professionals and medication for the patients. It also funds employees that are on the ground staying there year long. And so the starting donation goal is $1,900 roughly for a minimum of 14 volunteers. And this is the donation goal before you do community work in Victoria. So the more community work you do in Victoria, the lower that donation goal goes for you guys. So there are ways to reduce that price. Next slide. Yeah, so, and we just thought it'd be nice to actually show you what we did in Honduras. So here was our previous brigade in Zalzar. I forgot to say. Thank you, Spanish guy. And then we helped roughly 128 patients over 3 days. You can imagine how many people were coming through. So yeah, there's a couple of photos. So here was some of the kids from Charla. This is a nice group photo. This was us packing medical supplies on the nights before. Oh yeah, 3 amigos. And Sergio, volleyball games got competitive. He punched me in the face to the net. So, on accident, of course. But so you do have time for a little bit of recreation after you're done your duties, like packing medical supplies. So, for example, this compound, they had a soccer field and a volleyball. And then over here on the top right, you have consult. So this is myself actually taking another blood pressure because the doctor wanted to double check the blood pressure. And then this is another area that Charlotte, so these kids were wanting to color and play and put stickers on each other. Oh, yeah. That's all for me. All right, I'll let Hayden take the floor for dentistry.
Cool. So this year, we're starting back up a dental brigade for UVic. It's been a dormant chapter in recent years. We really haven't had any. We've had a ton of interest, but we've never just been able to put a brigade on its feet. So this year, I'm trying my best to get a dental brigade to go to Guatemala. We're going to the same place as the medical brigades, and we're hoping to stay in the same compound, just so we're all in the same place as one school. But we will be servicing different communities, so we'll be on different buses. I think it was like a 2-hour drive last year.
Yeah.
To our community. We'll be going in different directions during the day, but we'll all be staying in the same compound, hopefully. There's a little informational video about dental brigades in general, just like the one that we have in medical brigades.
Thank you, guys. Salud bucal es el estado de bienestar físico, mental, psíquico, completo del paciente de manera integral, donde el paciente pueda, además de llevar su vida cotidiana y realizar actividades fisiológicas normales como el comer, también tenga un buen desenvolvimiento en la parte estética y de confianza y autoestima por la apariencia del paciente, porque sabemos que una de las primeras cosas que el paciente ve refleja hacia la sociedad son los dientes, su boca.
Mental health in general, like, is a big thing. That's the first thing when you see when you look at someone is mostly their smile. So having good oral hygiene and good dental health is very important. So this brigade is definitely important to everyone in the community.
De salud cobran por hacer la limpieza y a veces uno no tiene recursos para recurrir a eso.
Me atendieron muy bien, a mí, a mi hija, y a veces uno no tiene el dinero para ir a un médico, porque aquí es cara las consultas. Entonces esto es una gran ayuda para nosotros, nos sentimos felices, yo y mi hija.
Muchas personas no tienen acceso a estos servicios. En los centros de salud no cuentan con el área de odontología. O a veces hay clínicas cerca, pero son precios que no, los pacientes no pueden pagar.
For the dental station, we'll do procedures like extractions, cleaning, fillings, screening, and also after that they go to charla and get their meds at the end. And we help them and teach them how to properly brush their teeth, what are the different steps for them to do it correctly, and we empower them of all the things they have to do to take care of themselves at home.
Coming here, I was excited just for the idea of helping people, just giving them general ease. But now that I'm here, it's very personal. I get to know the people. I play with the kids, play soccer out in free time, and I get to really know them. And they're individuals that I can help, and it's brought definitely a new perspective given this opportunity.
I think it's really great when people can be confident in their own smile and just be able to be happy.
Make this difference in the long term and to avoid them having pain or future issues down the road. So it's really been a great opportunity for me. I'm really happy to be here.
I've definitely been able to expand my knowledge on the resources that people have here, as well as like what we can provide to them. So being able to give these people dental procedures or just, help brighten up their smile on their face is definitely helpful.
Nada se compara en esta vida a vivir las cosas uno mismo. Tú puedes leer, puedes estudiar, puedes tratar de aprender, pero hasta que tú no lo hagas tú mismo y tú mismo no tengas la experiencia, nunca vas a tener una educación integral. Así que atrévanse, háganlo.
If anyone is looking to join a brigade, I definitely recommend reaching out. I mean, I've only been this only my second day, and I've already seen a huge impact and the smiles on people's
Ayudar a una
faces.
persona que quizás estuvo con dolor por meses y recibir un gracias. Eso es satisfactorio para mí, saber que quizás en esa persona marqué algo. O sea, él siempre se va a acordar de mí.
La gente que vino, la que sí se acercó a la brigada, fue un éxito. De verdad que dijeron qué bendición tener esta brigada aquí en mi municipio. Al final me siento satisfecha. Gracias, Global Brigades. Esperamos no sea la primera vez, sino la primera de muchas que vendrán.
Cool. Great video. Love it. So we also have a sample itinerary of the same 7 days. This would take place we get there and leave the same day as the medical brigades. It's a little different than their schedule though, just because our entire clinic is dental focused. So on the first day, we'll get settled in the intro to global brigades in general. By the second day, we're doing mostly dental screening. So when you think about going to the dentist, they usually have most of your information. If you've already been there, they have past x-rays and like maybe teeth that you've had pulled. Or if you go to a new dentist, they can get that from your old dentist. Not really that easy when you're going to a community like this that doesn't have access to healthcare. So the first days are just entirely dental screenings, just getting to know the patients and planning procedures for later throughout the week. Days 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all dental clinic days, and that's where we'll actually be in the clinic helping the community doing those procedures. And day 7 is when we leave. We go back to the same lodge as these guys and have the same free time, same dinner, but the entirety of the clinic is separate from them.
Sorry.
This is the organization of what our clinic would look like. They usually take place in schools. When we went to Honduras, there was an elementary school, and each of the classrooms was like a different station. So you can imagine this as like blue walls and chalkboards and desks like these is like our clinic. We start with an intake, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1, 2, 3 guaranteed dental stations. The more volunteers we have, we can add on 4 and 5. We do mostly fillings, extractions, screenings, and cleanings. The medical brigade only does extractions, and it is quite warm. If you don't like blood, I was passed out. It's very great. I had to sit down. But if you're pretty easy, cleaning, screenings, and fillings are pretty simple. We also have Charla as well for the patients who come to get dental care and their children necessarily aren't. We Charla with them. There was lots of drawing materials. Those kids love to draw. I don't know why, but they spent hours and hours on the floor drawing, and I really didn't have to do anything. They were kind of like in a trance with color pencils. It was great. And then the data informatics is we can do that during the clinic or after, and that's where we enter all the patient information and keep a record through global brigades. Yeah. For our donation goals to Guatemala this year, the donation goal is $16.80 for each volunteer, and with the minimum of 14 volunteers. The same deadline is December 23rd. As Victor mentioned, like the more you fundraise and the more you volunteer throughout Victoria, the less that price goes down. That's
The more the price goes down.
the more the price goes down. Sorry, I just went down less. It was similar to last year, and the volunteering we did brought that cost down definitely a lot. And this includes our transportation, housing, and meals. It just doesn't include our airline fee as a Canadian university. Yeah. And then on to the business brigade. And if you heard me say I was going to Ghana at all this year, I would lie. Because I definitely told like 10 people that.
Hi everyone, I'm Henry. I'm Tomas. We're going to talk about the business side of things. The first thing I want to point out, excuse me, is that we've had a brand change. So if you've noticed, our sign over here, it says University of Victoria Business Brigade. Apparently that was a little too vague, and I agree with that. So we've kind of rebranded to the Empowered Business Consulting. And I think that definitely reflects more of what we do. We are consultants. So, and then like the previous people, we also have a video to watch.
Go.
We are from the University of Southern California, and we are here in Canada, just finishing out our brigade. This is our first brigade post-pandemic, so we are very worried about coming over here without knowing much other than what we were told. But we were made very calm just by having translators, our coordinator, our students. We really enjoyed this experience. Hopefully that we make it.
And this experience really taught us all about empathy and redefining such characteristics and qualities. That's when we see ourselves and now see our folks, the brigade. Also, it provided our members with an experience that they can take away from learning and building communities through their deliverables and their presentations, and also see how we meet the needs in our for all of us, it's very scary at first, but as we got to the league and met the community, they were very open-minded and very open to learning and teaching their cultures to us. It made them very comfortable and very welcoming in their community as well. So they I think it's a great chance also to take what we're learning in our classes, like business stuff, I don't know, what's it, math, numbers. But then also like that human centered design thinking, like if they really like sunny side and connect with the community and just seeing how to shoot us, how to shoot hands, like the mutual relationship. It was a lot of fun also because I feel like we just came and got a bond all together, bonded with the transcendent as well.
Okay, sorry about the audio, that was terrible.
Yeah, the wind did most of the talking happened.
Okay, nope, there.
Okay, so, yeah, I guess with COVID, there's been some changes with the global economy, especially in these communities where they just have access to less healthcare and the economy is already just in a worse condition. This inequality has been the greatest since 1990, it says there. The Inter-American Development Bank estimates a 1.2 trillion funding gap for small businesses in Latin America as well. So yeah, just with COVID, it's just been a big change in how these communities have been able to operate in many ways. Next slide. Yeah, so like the rest of the club, we have a sustainable solution and it follows the holistic model. So global brigades, they kind of put an equal emphasis on all three parts: water, sanitation, healthcare, and economic development. In general, for the business side of things, we're kind of the last part. So they go into communities and they want them to have their water and sanitation. They want them to have access to healthcare. And then that's when we would come in and kind of help their businesses grow. It's kind of the final piece of the puzzle. So yeah. Okay, so what we got here? The three major components, we got primary market research, which is the first 2 days. And in the next few slides, I'll explain more what that was like for us. We went to Panama. And then education workshop and a business plan presentation. And so for us, that was more like 2 days, just because we worked with two different communities. So that was pretty cool. And just like the other chapters, like it's university students along with also people that are there right now helping out the community. But yeah. Yeah, so why Belize? Like a lot of places in kind of Central America, there are some people suffering from a lack of financial literacy. They don't necessarily know how to earn money, how to manage it, or how to invest it. And so kind of our expertise from the stuff we've been learning in class is really valuable to them. So yeah, our work will be focused in rural Belize. Belize has that area of Belize has a population of about 405,000. Like you can see, 12.1% of the rural population lacks access to basic or safely managed sanitation facilities. So just overall, like they're struggling and we're coming trying to kind of help them improve their quality of life. And we believe that the economic side of things is just as important as the health and sanitation. All right, so sample itinerary. It's quite different compared to the other two. So day one, we have airport pickup and transport to lodging facility. I think our bus ride was like an hour and a bit, or was it more than that? I remember it being long, but yeah, I was super hungry. I fell asleep, I think so. And then we had dinner, and this is really cool because before dinner we had like a big icebreaker with the people that we were working with, and it's such a great way to get to know like our team. So that was really fun. And then day two, we have our breakfast and consulting strategy. We kind of talked about what we were planning to do. And then at the midday, we went and visited our client. So our first client was a lady in one community. And so we would talk to her and get to know her more on like a personal level, like what she does day to day, like what her life is kind of like. And then if she has kind of like a sort of a mindset for what her goal is for her business. And then we prepare our presentation for the next day. And when we go there, just kind of work with the client, and then we did repeated the whole same process with another client, actually two clients we had at the other community. So that was really cool. So you got to work with a lot of people and get to discover different goals, and yeah, it was a very cool experience. And then day 6, we kind of got to celebrate, and we got like a nice meal by one of the communities and stuff. So it was really nice. And then day 7 was leaving. So yeah. Okay, so what are we actually going to be doing when we're there? So Tomas touched on our itinerary and kind of how it's laid out that way. But in terms of our deliverables, we're going to be helping people kind of with their financial analysis, so like basic profit and loss statement, cash flow analysis, and marketing. So for one of the people that we helped, they wanted to run a store, and so we kind of sat down with her and said, okay, well, who are you targeting? Are you trying to target just people in your community, or do you want to advertise this to people who are, say, a few miles away and might make a trip? So that kind of thing. And pricing, how much she buys her fruits for, how much you should be selling them for, so that she's making a profit, not just, and yeah, another thing that we did was, for example, the marketing tools. So because we're coming in with a lot of technology, you know, most of us had computers and stuff like that, access to Canva and other marketing tools. We were able to make logos. That was a huge part of what we did, was helping people who have a business but they don't have a face for it. So we'd work with them to come up with a logo that they enjoyed and that fit their business. And then yeah, that was a huge part of it. And using like WhatsApp and Instagram to promote kind of their products and stuff, which is pretty cool for one of the people that we're working with. So yeah, and if you're not familiar with these tools, we'll obviously review them before. And it's very different compared to what it is here, right? We're working with different quantities of money for sure, and also just different mentality as well. We found, yeah. Yeah, and then so yeah, our donation goal kind of right in the middle of the other two, 1810. That's ground transportation, housing, meals, and then we had an on-site paramedic. I think you guys did as well. But just in case anything happens to someone, a volunteer, you know, we do have some support there. And then obviously funding for the local technicians and supplies to support the community bank members in the area. And then funding to help Global Brigades continue to run year round. And then so I think Hayden touched on it, but our donation goal does not include the airline fee. But I was looking at it just the other day, and right now to Belize it's around 600 Canadian, and that is on the lower end. So we're hoping that we can get our brigade formed in the coming weeks to months, and then hopefully take action on that. Yeah, and our final deadline for the donation goal is going to be December 23rd, like the other brigades.
That's just the initial, like that's the
The initial,
250.
yes.
Yeah, it's the 250. It's like
Yeah,
not the full. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay.
Okay, so it's kind of a snapshot of our brigade. So a nice group picture at the top in one of the communities. We were working with 2 separate people. And the one on the right was the other lady that we were working with. And in that second picture, we were just kind of presenting. We were doing our presentation of what we found and how we were going to help her and work with her. And then some nice pictures with another client there, mostly group pictures, but yeah, it's pretty sweet. Where do you want to add for that? Yeah, I'll add. So if you guys can see this person, his Instagram was Artist Melky, and so his whole thing is he would make soapstone carvings, and this picture in the middle actually is when we followed him into his community and we walked into the mine, he would mine soapstone for hours a day, like 8 hours straight, filling up backpacks and bringing it back to his house, and then carving up these just beautiful statues and painting them. And that was his business. And when we met him, he needed help on how to expand that. And so we gave him a lot of helpful information about hiring people. He didn't know how to break down like the prices on how that would actually work. And so we were able to help him look into that.
Yeah, and then the other client was a lady who wanted to sell fruit that didn't she also cultivate it on her own?
Yeah, it was
I think it was
her own
well.
farm.
Yeah, she had her own farm, and then she also would purchase from the store and then resell. So you're able to work with her and the community bank as well, because the community bank gives out loans on a collateral basis. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that was a lot of information about all the different brigades that we have going. So I just wanted to open it up now. I have the contacts for the chapter presidents as well as myself. They're kind of your go-to for any questions about brigade specifics. But does anyone have any questions they want to ask now? Okay, if anyone thinks of any questions, you can always send a message to any of these people or their uvicgb@gmail.com. You'll get an answer there as well, or DM us on Instagram. And then as far as getting involved and staying in touch with us, our Instagram is great. We post every event we have on there, as well as on our Facebook. So follow us on those. We have a WhatsApp group chat that's a little bit more like we'll streamline kind of information for stuff, and we'll post like the sign up sheets and stuff. So if you want to join that, let me know, because I need to add you by your phone number. As well as we are doing a monthly newsletter starting in October. So I have already taken down a ton of emails that I'm going to be adding into that. But if you're not already on that, let me know. And then, yeah, our next event is our Krispy Kreme fundraiser, which is not this Friday, but next Friday on October 4th. Typically they do quite well. Our last one made $900. So if you want to, start fundraising with us, that would be your first opportunity. You can come, you can sign up on the sign up sheet and come volunteer, and then your hours that you put in go towards, it's a point system, and you upload your points, and then you earn a tier, and that's depends how much money you're going to get from our fundraising dollars. In our next meeting, we'll go over the point system. It's just too much information for today. Yeah, and that'll be outside the sub and in front of the library. We do 2 stations. And then, yeah, we do bi-weekly meetings. So next Tuesday will be another meeting, and it'll be different stuff. It won't be all of this. It'll be a little less lengthy and wordy. Yeah.
Yeah, if you know anyone who likes donuts, come get some, That's why we're there, to stand outside and give people donuts.
Alrighty. Well, if anyone wants to, yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. If anyone wants a sticker, I put them out, and you can grab a business card.
Ooh, we have business cards?
We do.
Yeah.
Sweet.
For our donut business.
Yeah, donut business, that's what I'm talking about. Bulking season, gotta get your donuts in.
Yeah, it's games good.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it count for carb loading for the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The person.
Cool.
Let me just end this.
All right.
No, it's